Greetings to everyone. My name is Khushi Gulwani and I am a student of Vocational Diploma in IT from the Albak Educational Institute. This is my presentation of the subject Windows Server and Configuration on the topic RODC and its significance. Let us first understand what is an Active Directory. Active Directory was launched by Microsoft for central network management. For example, if a company has various branches, it can be still connect through the central network of the Active Directory. It stores information about various users, computers and services. It contain of domain controllers. Now domain controllers are the server that respond to the security authentication requests, which mean the request for login or any kind of service that requires authentication by the user are responded by domain controllers. It ensures secure identity management across enterprises. Now let us see what is RODC. RODC stands for Read Only Domain Controller and it was introduced in Windows 7 2008. Now, by the name, you can say that it is only a read only copy, which means we cannot make any changes to the main domain. It contains a read only replica of the Active Directory database and it is designed for location with less security and less IT support. These are some of the key features of RODC. Let's go through one by one. First is read-only AD database. It holds only a non-writable copy or only a read-only copy of the Active Directory database so that we can prevent accidental or unauthorized changes to the directory objects like main domain. Second is unidirectional replication. The data can be replicated from the writable domain controller, but we cannot replicate back the data to the writable domain controller so that we can ensure that changes cannot affect the main domain. Third is credential caching control. For example, a user has logged on to his account in the past. Now the logon will be much smoother and faster because his or her data will be or the credentials are stored and cached locally. It reduces security risk. Fourth is administration role separation. It allows the admin to provide different roles and different work to the different users or employees, and it is ideal for location with support personnel. Fifth is secure DNS functionality. RODC can only host a read-only DNS server. So the read-only DNS server cannot does not allow any changes, so it is more secure than the usual DNS. Sixth is logon optimization. It speeds up user logons as the credentials are cached locally. Seventh is replication filtering. We can control what data are replicated to the RODC and also we can limit the sensitive attributes from replicating. Eighth is efficient for low bandwidth site. It reduces load on the network as it give really logon optimization and security. Ninth is better physical security. It is safe to deploy in unsecure or insecure environments like remote offices or branches. Tenth is easy decommissioning. If a branch closes or an RODC is retired, it is easy to remove without complex cleaning, and it does not impact the writable domain controller or the main domain. It supports sysvol read-only replica. It provides read-only access to the group object, ensuring the local processing without allowing any changes. The last is separation of duty. The admin can separate the duties and role of different employees and the users. Now, these are some of the differences between RODC and writable domain controller. Now, RODC is only unidirectional. We can replicate the data from writable domain controller. but we cannot replicate it back. But writable domain controller is a two-way or bidirectional replication. The database access is read-only in RODC, and in writable domain controller, we can do both read and write. In RODC, we can select our own password, but in writable domain controller, the passwords are stored by default. The credential exposure risk is lower in RODC as the user cannot make any changes to the main domain or the main directory of objects. It is higher in writable domain controller because someone can accidentally or unauthentically do changes in the active directory. Local administration. The role separation is supported, but in writable domain controller, full domain level administrative access is provided. If compromised, the security risk is low due to read-only and limited data in RODC, but the risk is higher in writable domain controller. RODC is ideal for remote or low security sites, but writable domain controller can be to use only at high physical security sites. The RODC authenticates only user with cached credentials. It means the authentication is done of the user that are logging in for the first time. But writable domain controller authenticate all the domain users. RODC may not support certain AD integrated apps. It means the compatibility of RODC is lesser than the writable domain controller. We cannot perform changes like password resets, but in writable domain controller, we can perform all directory operations like password resets. It only supports DNS, read-only DNS in RODC. Only read-only DNS is supported in RODC, which means again that we cannot make any changes or we cannot write anything on it. But in writable domain controller, read and write both DNS are supported. We cannot create or modify the policies locally in the RODC, but in writable domain controller, we can create and apply new policies by ourselves. We cannot push back any changes in RODC, but in writable domain controller, we can alter the changes or the data. In RODC, we can filter what gets replicated, which means we can select what we want to replicate and we can restrict the sensitive data. But in writable domain controller, we cannot do such things. So the full replication is by default. Now, these are some of the use cases of RODC in branch offices. For example, if a company or any setup has branches in various locations, they can connect and they can done their authentication by RODC. On remote sites, it support authentication and login services where connectivity to a central DC is low. In temporary workspace, for example, if a company wants to open a workspace temporarily in any site, so they would avoid making all the setup in a new site for a temporary time. So they can use RODC, which provides AD services in temporary offices or any pop-up locations. Low bandwidth environments. It can be used in low bandwidth environments as it reduces replication traffic and only essential data is synced. It is used in edge security zones. It is greater for use in exposed zone without risking poor domain integrity. Now, these are some of the security benefits of RODC. It reduces attack surface as the user or client cannot push changes to the main directory, so the attack surface is usually reduced. Selective credential storage, as the data as the logon data of the user is stored credentially, it fine-tune which user or computer password are stored locally. Role separation, it assigns local admin who can manage the RODC. mitigates insider threat. It prevents misuse by local user with physical access. Safe DNS hosting. It offers secure and read-only DNS resolution to prevent DNS spoofing or corruption. Now, these are some of the limitations of RODC. It does not has any write capabilities. It means we cannot update or modify the user info or the password, or we cannot even create new object or even object policies. It totally relies on writable DCs as it replicates its data from writable DC, so it is totally dependent or reliable on writable DC. It sometimes have app compatibility issues, as these apps may require full DC functionality to operate properly. For the users who are logging in on first time, it may be might slower because of the credentials that are not stored in the cache locally. It has limited group policy management. We can apply the group policy objects, but we cannot edit or update them locally. Now, these are some of the deployment best practices. We can conduct a security assessment to determine if the site needs a writable DC or the RODC. We can configure the password replication policy. We can enable administrator role separation, like keeping local admin tasks limited and secure. Monitor and audit RODC usage for regularly checkups for unusual activities or sync issues. Physical secure the RODC. Even with the RODC access, physical access should be controlled. Thank you so much.